They're better than Tutu Atwell.
Oh, poor Tutu.
Just fucking caught a stray. Jesus.
Hello world, and welcome back to Gridiron Campbell, the only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ron, and I'm joined by the entire collective, The Disciple, Brett Colson, Donnie, DP Peters, and the resident moose himself, Mo Nawara. Hope you had a happy holidays and a safe new year. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars only. Like a man who has not hit the league yet, but was absolutely dazzling in my backyard up in Pasadena this weekend, Jeremiah Smith. I was trying to explain to the group chat this morning how special of a prospect Jeremiah Smith is as a true freshman. You have to look at the last Heisman-winning wide receiver, Devonta Smith. He had, I believe it was 7 catches his freshman season. At WRU, at The Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr., as a freshman, had 11 catches. This year, Jeremiah Smith, true freshman, dude who showed up. I don't think he was a true 17 like Ryan Williams, but had just turned 18, down from South Florida. 70 catches, 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. This guy would be the 1.1 in this draft if he was eligible. But somehow he has to return to unprofessional football for 2 more seasons. Cannot wait.
You weren't at the grocery store when that happened?
Grocery gamble. For those in the Discord, bit.ly/Discord moves. At the exact same time, Mo and I were disgusted at how disgusting that... I don't even know who the 2 teams were. It was ASU.
It was Texas, Arizona.
Texas,
Yeah, it was 3 game-winning drives. And there was multiple false starts, a 20-yard punt. I mean, it was hideous football. So me and Rich said we were going to the grocery store.
Sark had the ball out of the 2-minute warning on the opposing side of the field. The perfect math ball scenario to set up a game-winning field goal with a few clicks remaining, or maybe 1 possession of time, like 1 down in distance of time, 40 seconds remaining for Arizona State. My guy comes out, pass, allows Arizona State to keep all of their timeouts and sets up a long field goal, which is, of course, missed, goes into overtime. And Mo and I were disgusted. So at the exact same time in 2 different places, we went to the grocery store and we were getting roasted at Grocery Gamble in the Discord.
The unprofessional guys were had
disgusted. Yeah, they were absolutely disgusted. If that was a long preamble, it's because it's week 18 in the National Football League, and we've got no idea outside of a handful of games what the hell the motivations are for these teams this week. You've even got playoff teams playing for seeding, where some have just flat out said they're not trying, the Rams being one of them, Jimmy Garoppolo starting at quarterback for Los Angeles, where you have other ones like the Commanders and Dan Quinn at the podium yesterday saying seeding is important, where it seems like they will be playing their starters. So we are just doing some parsing over here, trying to read the tea leaves. So we're going to do a similar format as we did last week, give you our card, and then discuss perhaps some fringe games, consensus picks that didn't make the card. If you're out there doing some real money betting, if you have any not hedges, but if you have any things in your mind that you think you can get down now that will be positive in terms of closing value, this is the week to just bet early and hope that you're right, and hope that you have closing value come Saturday or Sunday. You could be way wrong. You could be multiple points off, but this is kind of the week where things are going to move violently. Tomorrow, when final injury reports are out and Shefty Suite starts going out as to who's going to play this weekend, and you're either going to be left holding the bag or you're going to have some closing value in your pocket. Waiting for Sunday, you're just going to get super razor sharp lines, and it's going to be coin flip territory for everything. So might as well take a gamble now. Let's get into one game where so we know one team, the San Francisco 49ers. We know that they're just, everybody's dead. Okay, the entire team is DNP'd. Brock Purdy will not play. Is it going to be the Pastronaut? Is it going to be Brandon Allen? Last time they wheeled out Brandon Allen in the leverage spot, and the Pastronaut just shows up last week and looks like a functioning quarterback. They go to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals are -4.5, and Mo is laying it, going back to the well with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that was a horrific line, as I predicted last week. The Cardinals should have won the game. But, this week, initially, I thought this was a fair line. I actually had this as right around my initial fair when I did my numbers early in the week, so I actually haven't bet this one. But then I saw this 49ers injury report. This has to be the number one Cancun team, right? I mean, you just look at this team, like, I know that people are always, these guys aren't trying, these guys' season is over. And I think for the most part, that's like way overblown. This is a team that's been competing for the Super Bowl every year, and they're in a dead game. They don't need to develop their players. They don't need, anything really. The coaches aren't coaching for their jobs. This is just like everyone's already checked into 2025, and you can see it on this injury report. They've already shutting down people. Dre Greenlaw and Trent Williams. Immediately once the season was over, they put those guys on ice. And then, I didn't actually look at the depth chart, but my rough count was, I think 8 starters are double DNP to start the week. I think this could be all backups for the Niners, and they're just putting in a vanilla game plan, packing it in, and heading to next year. So, and the Cardinals they're still trying to work everyone up until, develop their players, get reps for these guys, and I think they care about this game more than the 49ers. So I actually think this game should be like way, way higher if this is going to be just all backups for the Niners. I did not know this many guys were going to be out for the Niners when I made my initial numbers. So I think, the Cardinals should probably be like -7 or higher here with this injury report.
You also have the Niners coming off that primetime game where they were competitive with this scrappy Lions team that everybody loves, and then it kind of all just falls apart in the second half with the Brock Purdy turnovers. So it's like you kind of gave this massive effort for this one last time. Nick Bosa got dinged in the game and went back in and was being a warrior. And then, you just have this game in Glendale, Arizona to end the season. Like sleepy
against a team with nothing to play
425.
for. Like you're not playing spoiler. The other team is not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. Brett, I got to go to you. You are the Shanahan whisperer. You did put an X next to the Niners. Do you have any trepidation? Get him over there. It looks like he has zero trepidation.
I don't know what to do with this team anymore. I have no idea what to. Like I thought, I thought they were just going to win that game last week, and then the Lions did the Lions thing, and it's so tilting with that Lions team. I don't know, but I think I agree with Mo. I think the Niners are cooked, and it is a thing. Teams that have all these high expectations going into the season, and it's like, what motivation do you have going into the final week?
We'll keep it with you, Brett, because you're the other member of the collective without a consensus for your top pick. It is, like every game this week, a divisional tilt between the Chargers and the Raiders. You are taking the 4 points at home with Las Vegas.
I knew it.
I don't know what's happening in this game, so please tell me.
So this is a parlay with the Bengals and the Steelers. I really like the Steelers in that game. And maybe we'll get to that one later in the show. But if the Steelers do win on Saturday, the Chargers have nothing to play for. They clinch the 6th seed. They hold the tiebreaker over the Broncos. And if that's the case, the Chargers are likely to sit their stars here, right? But even if the Steelers lose, how much do the Chargers care about getting the 5 seed? Like, is it enough to risk the health of a Herbert or a Bosa or a Mack? They've got some veterans who could really use the rest here. And like, I get it. It's the Texans instead of the Ravens in round 1, but how much does that matter? You still have to win 4 games. Like, does Harbaugh really want to fade his brother in round 1? I don't know how to cap for that, but I have a hard time believing that the Chargers care that much about moving up 1 spot in the standings when you could just rest Herbert and all these guys ahead of the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they already blew their shot at the number 1 pick. I think at this point, Pierce is just trying to put some wins together to either keep his job or help him land another job if he's fired. Raiders have a lot of young guys playing for pride, playing for a contract and a job in this league. These situations always get overblown in Week 18. This team is quit. But Week 18 really is a wake-up call for a lot of teams. This is their last chance to put together some good film. And I think the Raiders do show up this week and catch the Chargers in kind of a weird spot.
Especially with really bad teams. Like we just talked about the Cardinals. We're talking about the Raiders now. The guys on these rosters, this might be the last time they get to play pro football. So they need to lay down some good tape if they want to stay in the league. From a rest perspective, I don't know what Harbaugh is going to do because he seems like he could be a knee-biting idiot like Dan Campbell last week. Absolute maniac, playing everybody for a full 60 minutes. Jared Goff blocking people in their face mask with his throwing hand. Lunacy. So I just don't trust it.
This is one that, just to get on my soapbox real quick and let people know, like Brett said, if you didn't understand basically what Brett was saying, there is a correlated money line parlay here that I put into my account. It should be around plus 500. Go check and see if your book will let you do it. If you even think the Steelers are just a neutral EV bet, you can parlay them with the Raiders and it's automatically plus EV because honestly, guys, the Raiders are going to close favored if the Steelers win this game, I think. I think they're going to be like minus 2.5 because Easton Stick is probably one of the worst backups in the league. So at that point, wouldn't Aiden O'Connell and these guys be favored at home? I think yes. So this is just a little fun one that I put a little bit of money on in my account. I did have one out that let me parlay these. Some books will not let you do it because they are correlated. If the Steelers win, then the Raiders is a plus EV bet.
In keeping with Steelers Bengals, which is a consensus pick, that is DP's top pick. He is taking the +2 with Tomlin against this Bengals team that last week was one of the more tilting experiences from both a football watching and a holding Broncos +3 in this contest, +3.5 in real life. I was down in the great sunshine state of Florida, placing real money wagers, had 3.5. Somehow we don't cover the 3.5 because the Bengals score a touchdown at the end and don't just win by 3, giving us a push in the contest. And then they just go out and score a touchdown in overtime because Sean Payton just doesn't play for the tie on multiple occasions. But we're going back to the
on their second possession when they only needed a field goal, but their kicker had already missed.
Yeah. Going back to the well. Anti-Bengals. Lead us off, DP.
I mean, there's a few different ways to attack this. You have a Steelers team that can play for, or is playing for seeding, right? Or could play for seeding. And at the same time, play spoiler to their enemy, the Bengals, who have everything to play for and need some help, right? We're not high on the Bengals here. I mean, we're lukewarm, I guess you would say, because of the offense, right? Passing offense. They can move the rock. Yes. Their defense is still atrocious. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Mike Tomlin to me is like Dan Campbell light in the sense that, like, I don't think he's just going to rest guys. Like, that's not his type of mentality. Like, I think he's going to want to play and play well and have momentum and that whole thing, like that Tomlin aura going into the playoffs. He's not just going to rest guys to rest guys. I mean, this just seems like a really good spot to not only take the points, but just bet the money line with the Steelers here. End the Cincinnati season, send them home. The Bengals have beaten just bad teams, I feel like. And they get in these weird, like, close games / shootouts with these bad teams. I mean, last week was such a dumb win by that stupid effing Bengals team. I mean, it was just ridiculous, okay? So, I don't know. You have to sell all the Bengals stock right now. Just sell it all.
Like Brett said last week, that was the first victory against a starting quarterback all season by Cincinnati. And it came with absolute lunacy necessary to get the dub. Mo, you're talking about your parlay, but you're actually the lowest on the Steelers.
Yeah, because I did have this as a neutral game. So I just basically put the parlay in because I think it's a fun sweat. and I think it's going to be plus EV. Interesting. That Raiders line had already came down, unfortunately. So like somebody is onto this. Somebody got onto this early. I think it was 6 early in the week. So it's already coming down. And then this one, my concern here is that Tomlin does have a record of resting guys. They did rest guys last year. My concern here is that Baltimore is playing first and they're minus 20, basically. So there will be every reason in the world for the Steelers to rest guys. That being said, I do think if they try hard, if they do try to win this game, then I think +2 is a bit too much. I do think the Bengals might be slightly better than the Steelers. It's probably close. But I don't know how you can get to +2 at home here with the Steelers. I mean, Russell Wilson threw for 414 yards the last time these teams played, and I think there's signal in that. I mean, we know how bad this Bengals defense is. They've been playing a bit better lately, but I think that's basically because they've been playing subpar NFL quarterbacks like DTR and Will Levis / Mason Rudolph. Will Rudolph, I don't know, whatever we want to call that conglomerate of bad Titans quarterbacking. But I do think the Steelers are the right side, but I'm like not excited to bet it because this is one where I don't know what's going to happen. I could see the Steelers trying, and I could see them resting guys. So
I'll tell you what's going to happen.
I'm in the dark here.
Tomlin is going to tell his team, you cannot enter the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak. I'm sorry. That is like a Tomlin thing.
That I could see. That's fair enough.
You got to put your aviators on first before you say that. Okay. I will finish us off with picks from members of the collective with another consensus pick. There's a 3-way tie for the collective pick, with one barely sneaking in based on aggregate ranking. And I am personally, I don't think I've picked them actually, but as a collective, we were going back to the well with the Carolina Panthers, who traveled to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. This is a classic final week of the season spot where one team absolutely needs it, must win, have to get into the playoffs. Everyone thinks they're going to win against a completely dead team in the Panthers, who, to be fair, the last couple of weeks have started to look like the September-October Panthers once again. Getting absolutely pasted last week. -3 net yards per play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That wasn't as alarming because the Bucs are a very well-coached team. Baker's playing out of his mind. Liam Cohen is dialing it up. What was concerning was 3 weeks ago, against the Cowboys, when Cooper Rush absolutely decimated them. That was the one where my ears kind of perked up, where it's like, the Panthers might be dead. But Michael Penix Jr. has not looked like a good quarterback yet. That was a pretty dreadful performance against the Commanders on Sunday Night Football, save for the last drive where he needed to convert a 4th and 11 and a 4th and goal from the 13-yard line. Made the throws. Very impressive. But on the whole, from a down-to-down basis, Penix was just not playing very well in that contest. So putting a -8 next to him seems a bit rich. And this is still a Falcons defense that has looked extremely spotty for the entire season against a Panthers offense. That's my dog is in favor of the dog. A Panthers offense that's been able to work some kinks out. Thielen has found the fountain of youth. And Bryce Young is playing much
Remember
better.
Bryce Love? Wow, that's a throwback name.
This made every single top 5 except for Brett. Brett, this was closer to the middle. What are your fears? I go back. I'm looking for trepidations once again from Brett on the Carolina Panthers.
My fears are exactly what you mentioned, is that the Panthers look like the early season Panthers again. Like Penix has not looked great, but this is a spot where he doesn't have to do a whole lot to shred this defense. And again, like there's nothing to play for here. The Falcons are playing for their season, so I think that's where my concern is. I do think the Panthers are the right side, though.
Is there a world where this is better coach, better quarterback? Because, I mean, what Raheem did. Speaking of clock management,
outrageous. Outrageous, that guy. That alone, how can you have any faith in him getting his team like ready, prepared, like all this sort of crap? Players are generally tighter when they have to, like, they have more higher pressure situations. Like, I mean, come on.
Especially with a rookie quarterback making his first road start, like, you have to have full control of the reins in that situation to give your guy the best shot at winning. And I mean, Raheem just stood there and literally did nothing. He was just an observer of the contest instead of using his power to call timeout.
This feels like Raheem gets up and plays to, like, hold off the other team when you need to play to, like, bury the other team, especially if you're going to cover 8.
Yeah. This could be, is it Riley Patterson? The guy, is this Riley Patterson who couldn't reach on a 50
You tell us, he was on the Jets once.
Jets legend, Riley Patterson. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get the collective pick.
The collective chooses
the Los Angeles Rams. The aforementioned Los Angeles Rams. Jimmy G under center for the Rams, who are plus 6.5 at home, playing against a dead Seahawks team. Now, there's a lot of, Donnie's making a face over there for the folks watching on YouTube. The Seahawks do have some incentive in this game because their guy, Geno Smith, makes a cool $2 million if the Seahawks win this football game. Geno Smith, a guy who didn't write back, who the Seahawks have rallied behind over the past 2 seasons. But just because they get their guy Geno the check doesn't mean they're going to cover 6.5 on the road in this contest. You are the lowest on this game, DP. You are the only person that did not have this in your top 5. So let's start with you. What are your worries here about Eugene Cyril Smith the third?
Part of it is I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, how am I supposed to know? McVay's out here saying he's going to bench all these players. He's starting Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I mean, yes, the Seahawks have nothing to play for, but Geno has everything to play for, and it's more than just $2 million, Rich. I think it's up to $6 million total that he could get. Also, 186 passing yards, and like some other incentives with his passing specifically. So, I mean, is Geno going to force it too much? How am I supposed to have any idea what's going to happen? I was looking at all this stuff last night and like what could happen, all the different playoff scenarios, who needs to win, who needs to lose, who needs help, and then I'll also combine that with all the player incentives, and this is giving myself a damn popsicle headache the whole freaking time. I mean, I have no idea. So, but the other side of me is like, well, yeah, okay, McVay came out and said they're starting Jimmy Garoppolo. Isn't he kind of playing for contracts, future contracts? I mean, right? So why wouldn't he try? I mean, come on.
And we've seen, how many times do we have to, Anthony Richardson, okay? You need to find a way to get to the Los Angeles Rams. Any quarterback out there that is struggling, find a way to get McVay's number and become the backup in Los Angeles, because your revival can start now. This game means so much to Jimmy G. And the Rams are sharp, right? From Monday to Saturday, right? McVay gets it. And we know he'll be resting a lot of players in this game because he understands that seeding does not matter. The NFC is just a gauntlet, right? Like, no matter what path you take, we were talking about this in the Discord over the weekend. There is no path in the NFC other than having the 1 seed that is like an enjoyable trip to the Super Bowl. It is going to be a struggle no matter what. So having a bye, resting your players has way more value than anything. So we're pretty confident that this is going to be some sort of Rams B squad. That being said, the guys that are playing, division rival, at home, 6.5 points. Like, the defense on Seattle definitely isn't going to be, like, they can't do anything to help Geno, right? I mean, I guess they could try to get this win over the line, but this is a Seahawks defense that post-bye kind of spiked, but has definitely come back to earth over the last couple of weeks. And even if the Seahawks offense is super motivated and goes out there, it's the same squad that just scored 6 points. 6 points. So how much can we truly buy into this? All right. That's the card thus far. But there is two consensus games that did not make the card. Let's start in Mo's backyard, where they did it again, Mo. The Kansas City Chiefs, because Mahomes is not playing, the ultimate disrespect of Andy Reid, getting 10.5 points against the Denver Broncos. Carson Wentz, speaking of Los Angeles Rams revival projects, had a cup of coffee with them last year. Now the backup to Mahomes will be starting for your Chiefs. I think we all capped this the same in that we love the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are actually going to be for the first time all season in this contest. I think the Chiefs are actually going to be popular.
I could see that, but I don't know. I think people way overly buy into this, like, oh, this team needs to win. That team doesn't. This team's resting. That team isn't. I mean, I think the cap goes that deep for a lot of people. Yeah, for me, guys, this is the first bet I put into my account this week. This was what I was nearly certain was going to be my number one pick. I probably would have laid minus 1,000 on it until I saw the 49ers injury report. I mean, like you said, Rich, this is a flat out disrespectful number. And I just don't think people are properly putting, like, this is still the Chiefs coaching staff. It's not like they have another game to prepare for. The Chiefs have a bye. They're not going, the staff is still working hard because this is such a together organization. They're going to go out there and try to put these players in the best position to shine, even if they don't think they're coming back on the Chiefs next year. These guys all care about each other. They're going to try to make these guys look good. And guys, nobody has seen more Chiefs snaps of non-Patrick Mahomes than me. And let me tell you, Andy Reid has made way worse quarterbacks than Carson Wentz look halfway decent. Okay, he's got Chad Henne marching down the field for touchdowns in playoff games. He's got Matt Moore beating decent teams in the regular season. I mean, it does not matter who is taking the snaps for the Chiefs. They're going to look decent. Like, obviously Patrick Mahomes matters, but he doesn't matter as much as people think he does, as crazy as that is to say, even though I think he's by far the best quarterback ever. This Andy Reid is still the best offensive mind of the last 20 plus years, at least. Like, he is going to cook up something where Carson Wentz looks halfway decent. And I think the total is 40 in this game.
40.5.
That seems really low to me.
It's just like a traditional cap spot as well. Total of 40.5, 10.5 point dog, divisional game. Like, even if you remove the aspect of Mahomes and Kelsey not playing, the other thing that interests me is, like, I think Hollywood should get some burn in this game because he's still playing into football shape. So it's not like the Chiefs are going to be throwing to absolute nobodies. I wouldn't think. So, yeah. And this is just a Denver team that we know.
That's what concerns me in the Rams game, to be honest with you, is like, how much did these receivers prop up? I don't think Matt Stafford has played very good this year. So if those guys are out and their backups are so bad, that is honestly my only concern in that Rams game, is those receivers.
Something Whittington, the new Puka. Who is the lowest on the Chiefs?
But yeah, like, the Chiefs have like Justin Watson and like professionals that are going to be, you know, Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, these guys are okay. They're going to go out. They're better than Tutu Atwell.
Oh, poor Tutu. Just driving along the 405, taking a stray.
Caught a stray. Jesus. Good Lord.
Brett, you were the lowest on the Kansas City Chiefs.
The only reason this isn't in my top 5 is because I do think there will be more picks on the Chiefs in the contest. It's an interesting game. If I didn't hate the alternatives so much, I would love to see the Chiefs stomp this fraudulent Broncos team and knock them out of the playoffs. But I hate the Bengals. I hate the Dolphins. I don't want either of those teams in. So I kind of hope the Broncos just win this game so they have to come here to Buffalo next week. That's who I want to see next week. I want to play the Broncos in the first round of the playoffs. So that said, I would not be shocked if they just lost to KC this week.
I want Snoop Huntley to start and win this week for the Dolphins for a lot of reasons. One, that my New York Jets retain or even improve upon their draft position. And because I want Snoop Huntley to be competitive in a playoff game with Tua hurt, because I think that would just be hilarious for all the Tua non people out there that think that he is the next big thing. Okay, there's one other consensus game that did not make the card. I feel like it's a similar cap because it is going to be popular because the Detroit Lions play host to the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions are -2.5, and we all are lining up to take KOC, Savior Sam, and the Minnesota Vikings. I am completely KOC pilled. I've said this multiple times on the pod. I think the Vikings are going to win this game, and I think the Vikings are going to go to the Super Bowl. I think that is the world that we live in as the calendar turns, that Sam Darnold will be the quarterback of a team going to the Super Bowl. Who would they be afraid of at home? I guess the Eagles. I guess. But if this Minnesota offense gets going and you have the Eagles in a neutral script, or God forbid, a negative script against a Brian Flores schemed up defense, that's kind of a delicious spot to be in if you're Minnesota. But sticking to this game, Mo, we were talking about this in the Discord. This Lions team giving up heaps of yards on every single play, and save for 2 boneheaded passes for Brock Purdy. The Niners should have scored on every single. I mean, Ricky Pearsall was 30 yards wide open multiple times in this game. What is Justin Jefferson going to do to this Lions defense?
Yeah, there's a huge mismatch on the outside here, obviously. I don't understand how Detroit can be power rated as a better team than Minnesota at this point. And I hate to say that because I feel like I'm holding the bag over here. I mean, I'm not holding the bag in the sense that I have plus 130 on a minus favorite right now with my Lions division bet. But I feel like I am holding the bag because I think the Vikings are going to win as well. And I think they're a better team than Detroit as currently constructed. I mean, yeah, I do super believe that Detroit was the best team in this division, but that was at the beginning of the year, and a lot has happened since then. The Vikings are very good. I bet the Vikings last time these two teams played because I thought it was ridiculous that they were home underdogs. Maybe they should have won, maybe not. That ended up being basically a coin flip, but now how decimated this Lions defense is, I don't know. But I will say the bet to make in this game, at least when it was the total got up to 57. That's outrageous. I mean, I took under, and it's down to like 56 juiced under now. I think I'd still take the under, man. It's 60 points, man. I mean, these defenses, yeah, are they bad against good offenses? Yeah, but these aren't like, this isn't the Bengals where the other team just automatically scores 30 when they step on the field. Like, these teams have gotten stops at times. I mean, I think there will be a few stops in this, and they both love to run the ball. So I think when both teams are getting chunks running the ball, I think they're going to keep the clock churning here as well. So I don't understand why the total was 57, but I hit the under. But yeah, I think, unfortunately for my future, I think the Vikings are the side here.
I don't know, man. I don't think I'd be comfortable holding an under ticket in a game where, I mean, Ben Johnson is whipping out hook and laterals in games that don't matter. Like, what is this dude going to roll out on Sunday in a win? And I mean, the leverage, speaking to the leverage king here, Brett, this game is insane in that it is 1 seed or wild card. The percentages of winning the Super Bowl, reaching the Super Bowl, just based on the outcome of this game, are outrageous, Brett.
Don't these two teams kind of both get a bye, though? Like, you have to go to Tampa. I mean, both these teams are significantly better than Tampa. But
I mean, they're still only going to be like, what, minus 5.5 or something?
I know.
And you have to go to Philadelphia the week after that, most likely. Like, instead of staying at home, you know? This is a brutal for these two teams.
Wouldn't they play each other?
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, you're correct, because they're the... They wouldn't do the 3-2 on that side. Yeah, it's just... Which is, I mean, having home field in that matchup is huge as well. DP, you're the lowest on the Vikings. You just think that everyone's going to line up to click Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, I think there's probably going to be 3,000 entries on both sides. I mean,
this is the all-time minus 500. These are both top 5.
You know what this is? This is a Super Bowl in Week 18, and everyone has an opinion, and everyone's going to put it on their card. Like, that's what this is. So I'm like, I like the Vikings. Yeah, I've liked the Vikings for a few weeks. I've liked them all season, and I think the Lions are starting to go the other way. So, I mean, I feel like the Vikings are for sure the right side, but good God. I mean, how many people are going to be on this game? It's ridiculous.
Well, if the other games mattered and people were excited for them, it might be a little different, but nobody's going to want to bet on any of the games that, or not bet, but, you know, put any equity on any of the games that don't matter. Like, people are going to all gravitate to this one, of course.
All right, one other game that I wanted to touch upon, and then I'll open the floor if you guys are interested. It's Giants-Eagles. So we've already gotten word that the Eagles will not be playing Barkley. So makes you assume that they're not going to rush back Jalen Hurts, which leads me to think that I don't know, what was the guy's name? Who's this
Tanner McKee.
Tanner McKee. Like, he's going to start, right? Because Kenny Pickett is dust. So we've got Tanner McKee favored in pro football. Like, shouldn't we just be all in on the Giants here? A Giants team that you're shaking your head over there. Drew Lock breaking EPA records last week. I mean, can't the Giants winning coverage just throw into Malik Neighbors?
That's the trap.
Are people really going to line up to take Drew Lock?
I mean, you're buying high, aren't you? Isn't this the closest thing to buying high on the Giants?
Okay, well, at least do me this favor. Total of 37.5. Can we find a teaser candidate to get the Giants up to 8.5? Like,
you don't want to tease in these games where it's massive uncertainty, though.
Yeah, this is true. There's such a wide range of outcomes. I don't know. I just think that Malik Neighbors is good enough to win a football game, especially against backups. Like, this guy is that special. And Drew Lock is going to get it to him.
We're talking about Sirianni. We're not talking about Andy Reid. We're not talking about McVay. Like,
yes.
Sirianni with these backups. Like, I don't trust that at all. And meanwhile, you got Dayball playing for a contract, Drew Lock playing for a contract, possibly. Like, I think the Giants are going to come out flying this week. So I love this spot for them.
Yes, I'm all about this. I initially had this as one of my top plays, and I just kept sliding it down, but I saw Brett had it in his top 5, and I'm starting to gain more conviction on this spot. I said this last week, and we had the Giants +8 as outright winners on the card. Just like you said, Brett, like, this matters to Daboll, right? I think Daboll wants to keep that job. I think Daboll wants to, I guess now that they won a game, like, they're not going to be able to just take a quarterback, right, but at least be involved in the process to get his quarterback, whether that be somebody on the veteran market or some sort of trade up within the draft to get somebody. So I think Giants have all the motivation in the world here to be competitive to go out and play well. And yeah, this is Clown Sirianni with a bunch of backups. With Tanner McKee as a favorite in pro football, what are we doing?
Someone sharp agrees with you guys because this was 3.5 early in the week. So someone has been hammering the Giants.
All right. Anything else? Any other games that you guys? One more for me, and then I know Mo's always champing at the bit to see where you guys were at. Commies Cowboys. I said it at the top. Dan Quinn said seeding matters. I tend to believe him. He seems like somebody. I haven't checked the Coach Speak Index, but he seems like somebody who's not really a bullshitter. This Cowboys team is beyond 1, 2, 3 Cancun's. The aforementioned something Tanner McKee was just chucking the ball around the yard against them. Indoors, I don't know. I just think this line is like multiple points short, Mo.
This is the other game that I got in my account early in the week. Was Commies. I got 4.5, I think. I did not understand this line. Guys, the Commies were -10 at home when CeeDee Lamb was playing. So how are they south of 7 here? I mean, I understand they lost that game, so like maybe that line was a little bit off. I don't think the market was like 6 points off or whatever. I mean, this is a crazy move considering the best player by far on the other team is out and it moves 6 points. I am baffled by this. And Washington, I don't understand why they wouldn't play hard. You don't want to go to Philly round 1. And if you lose here and the Packers win and they're 10-point favorites, you're going to Philly round 1. So I think they want to come out and take care of business. Obviously, must win does not mean must cover, but I don't know how Dallas is getting stops in this game. So yeah, I like Washington quite a bit. That is in my account for sure.
It was in everybody's top 5 except for Brett. Brett actually clicked this is one of the random lone wolves that you had, Brett. What went into the coin coming up Dallas?
This is the Trey Lance coming out party. This is it.
This is
honestly,
the week.
I don't know why I clicked Dallas. This was just one where I was like, I have no idea. I'm just clicking a side and it ended up being Dallas. I don't know what to expect here.
Okay, floor's open, boys. Mo, you're always ready, Mo. I love it.
I just want to know. We hit on all the games I like for sure, but except for one that I'm looking at that I might play. And I just want to know what Brett thinks because this seems like the Brett special of the week. If he doesn't have the Bears in his top 5, I'm going to be surprised. You liked them last time these teams played. And now they're +10.
What kind of different circumstances? No?
Are the Packers?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's the Texans. The Texans. The Texans are the other team that we don't know what motivations are. The Packers obviously need to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is the classic
Packers should be trying to win. But yeah, I mean, the Bears, you don't think the Bears are going to give them a game? I thought Brett would be all in here.
I don't know. I thought this line was fair. Like, I'm still not convinced that the Packers aren't the best team in the NFC. I still think it's pretty close. And they've got a chip on their shoulder now as the 7 seed. I think this group believes they are just as good as the Lions and the Eagles and the Vikings. So I'm buying Green Bay right now, both this week and going into the playoffs.
I hope you're right, buddy. Have that Green Bay future, and that was not a heartening game that they played against the Vikings.
Yeah, I know.
What did Love have? 60 passing yards at halftime?
Like third quarter.
This is just to go back real quick to the Lions-Vikings game and into the playoffs with the Vikings. I think the scariest part about the Vikings is that Flores now has tape on all of the teams that he's going to face from a defensive schematic standpoint. And he has tape of them playing against his scheme so that he can then layer on top of that, which I think is terrifying from a scheme perspective because Flores is a madman. Like the types of simulations and pressures and rollovers that he trusts his defense to make, like he is going to show you pictures that you think you've seen before and then at the snap rotate out of them. And I think that's going to be a nightmare for teams that he's already played against, where he can kind of scheme on top of scheme and put these quarterbacks into a blender. And none of these NFC quarterbacks are good, like that are going to make the playoffs. So I feel like if they get put into a blender, Like, I think they're just prone to make massive mistakes, like we saw from Love last week. Love really struggled in that game. But he will not have the same resistance this week against the Bears, schematically at least. I'll give the Bears some credit. The fact that they went out and held the Seahawks to 6, they do get extra rest, which does favor Mo's side of taking the 10 points here. So that is a bit of interest. Anything else? Should we talk Browns-Ravens real quick? It's 20 in real life. It's 18 in the contest. I think this is wildly incorrect. I have the Browns in my top 5. If you look at the scatter plot, right? If you bottom left, DTR is just pasted to the bottom left with some of the worst quarterbacks that you've ever seen take a football field. Billy Zappi is kind of in like the bad. He's in the bad zone. He's in the Tommy DeVito zone where DTR is in like the Jake Haener, Jake Luton, guys that should be working at Merrill Lynch, like sector of the EPA CPOA graph. So
are you sure? Cleve TA just tweeted out that these are the bottom 2 quarterbacks, 59 and 60 past X number of years and whatever EPA metric he had up there. So,
he might be. I know he does some EPA adjustment, but I was just looking at raw EPA. I looked at the scatter plot, and Zappi was just kind of like, he was in the bad quarterbacks, whereas DTR was like bottom left. Like they had to like change the graph to make sure that DTR fit on it. So how does this line move? I don't know how this could move.
It moves DTR, if it was wrong initially, which I kind of think it was.
Okay. So you had pro Ravens people on top of the quarterback change. Yeah, 18 points, 20 points. This is crazy.
20 and a half now, I'm seeing.
But the Ravens run it up on all these teams. Out of all these guys, the Ravens are the Lions, though. Like, if they can win by 40, they will. That's why I would not want to be on Cleveland in this
How do you win by 40 in these weather conditions, though? Is Cleveland going to throw the football, or are they just going to run straight?
Who are they going to run straight with, though? Ford is dead. Chubb is back to being dead.
Deontay Foreman season.
I think Deontay's on IR. I think Pierre Strong is on the injury report.
Pierre Strong was DNP. So
oh my god. So they have no choice but to throw the football.
Who are these?
Then
yeah,
I'm taking Ravens.
I think the most shocking thing I saw this week was DP not having the Browns higher.
I would have laid minus 1,000 that Donnie had Browns in his top 5.
I mean, kind of close, I guess. I mean, whatever.
Donnie had all consensus picks, almost all consensus picks in his top 5. His top 3 were all consensus picks, aligned with the collective. All right. A wonky week 18. I've been in this mode for the last 2 weeks. Get me to the playoffs. Can we sim to the playoffs, turn off injuries, get to Super Wildcard weekend, and then we can dig in and start capping some of these teams. Got some season-long sweats. Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, this is a crazy sweat for leading rookie receiving. Giants' worst record.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, because I have heard in some of these markets, Brock Bowers wasn't included. So is yours receiver or is yours all rookies?
It's all rookies, which makes the sweat even sweatier against him and neighbors. Because some of them were receiver only markets, and some were receiving ING markets. So pointing out both of those. Absolute dick punch last week from the Giants. Worst record plus 1,000 out the window. So brutal.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair on your one, like, you probably should have already lost with Neighbors. Like, you're only in there because Neighbors got hurt.
He got hurt.
That being said, it was still a great bet, like, obviously. Yeah. But Neighbors probably deserves to be at the top. I mean, this guy has been unbelievable. But yeah, obviously I'm rooting for you, though, for sure.
Is Ohio State still wide receiver U when LSU has the 4 best receivers in the NFL?
It's definitely neck and neck. Yeah.
Yeah. When I told my buddy last week, because he doesn't watch Unprofesh, and he was like, where did Brian Thomas go to school? And when I told him it was LSU, I said he was on the same team as Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels. I think I blew his mind. He was like, what? And I was like, yeah, they lost like 4 games. It was actually 3. I had to look it up. And I just like, can you imagine how bad their defense was? Because it's not like these guys were just like these college athletes who never produced. These guys produced. Like, they produced the same way they're producing now. So the fact that team wasn't like, even in the playoff, like, this is craziness, man.
Yeah, it's actually insane how much of a margin Jamar Chase has on receiving yards compared to... Isn't he like 500 yards clear of the nearest player? Oh, my goodness. All right, week 18. Can't wait for the playoffs. Follow these guys on Twitter at Donnie_Peters, at Brett Colson, COLLSON, and at Mo Nuwwarah, NUWWARAH. Last chance this season to get 5-0. One time. Best of luck in your betting matches. Peace.